Look ahead at the week coming up for Georgia Southern baseball as they will head to San Marcos to take on the number 10 team in the country in the Texas State Bobcats. And to dive into what the Bobcats look like in 2022 is the ESPN voice for the Texas State Bobcats program in Brant Freeman. Brant, appreciate you joining us, buddy.
Colin, looking forward to it as always. I've hopped on a few of your podcasts throughout this athletic year, and this will be the first time that I will have done a Georgia Southern event since football way back in November. So it's been way too long since you guys came down to St. Marcos.
There's no doubt about that. This is one of the few weekends that we will actually allow people to not mute the ESPN broadcast, and
it's really okay if you do.
But dive into this Texas State team. I know the polls coming out in the last couple of days. Texas State as high as 8, I think, in the collegiate baseball, 10th in D1 baseball. Mm-hmm. What does this 2022 Texas State team look like? And I know there's a lot of excitement around the program.
It's kind of remarkable, Colin, especially when you consider where this team was a year ago. 21 wins the entire year in 2021, and they've already surpassed that 29 games into this season. And you look at the quality of opponents that they've beaten, right? They won a series at Arizona. They split a midweek series with then number 1 ranked Texas, who's still ranked in the top 10 as well. They have not lost a weekend yet, which is incredible. You get to the end of March, early part of April, and to not have a losing weekend is really hard to do. And they've done that. They've won series, over Utah Valley, Ohio State, Arizona, Southern, Arkansas State, Coastal Carolina, and then Appalachia State this past weekend. So, and as you guys know, as good as the Eagles have been, that, winning in Boone can be tough. It's not a great environment. And so your players have to really dig deep to get up for a game like that. Texas ball players not accustomed to the colder temperatures, that they saw this past weekend in Boone. And baseball is a random enough game where, a ball bounces, doesn't bounce your way. Then, you come up short and drop 2-3. That hasn't happened yet. And so it's been a really special season so far. It's great to see them getting recognized for it, not only in the Sun Belt, but nationally. And hopefully this keeps up, because as a lot of Bobcat fans recall, in 2019, they had a great year, won the Sun Belt title, but then went to the tournament, lost their 2 games, and didn't play again. This team has aspirations not only to win a championship, but they want to go back to the NCAA tournament. Haven't been there in 11 years. So far, halfway through the season, it's been pretty special.
Talk about the impact that Stephen Trout has had on this program, taking over for Ty Harrington 3 years ago. What is it about? And I know he's carried on a lot of what Coach Harrington has done with that program, but also kind of put his own twist on it.
Yeah, I think that when Ty stepped down, everybody really wanted Steve Trout to get the job. And not just because everybody knew him, but knew the job that he could do. He's really earned his stripes. Played at TCU, went on to play some independent pro league ball and got out of that pretty quick and got into coaching. Spent some time as a GA at Texas State, and then, worked his way around coaching the JUCO ranks, was at West Virginia, when they were just kind of starting their program, and then came back full circle to Texas State. And so he's got a lot of experience around the game. He's well respected, and not just by his colleagues, but by the players too. You can tell that he's certainly a player's coach, and he fights for them. I mentioned the record a year ago, 21-36, kind of a funny story about Steve Trout. On his lock screen on his phone is a piece of paper with a number written 21-36, the win-loss record from last year. It's still there to this day. It's been on his phone since about June of last year. It's been a source of motivation for him all season long. So he's done a really good job. There's been continuity with the staff. And as Eagle fans can attest to with Rodney Hennon, that goes a long way, towards building a foundation, building a culture. When Ty Harrington stepped down and Steve Trout stepped up, there weren't any changes among the staff either. Chad Massengale, the pitching coach, retained. Josh Blakely left briefly but came back. I think that was after the short COVID year or before it. And the volunteer coach has even been the same the whole time. So having the continuity on the staff has really helped tremendously, with where the program is now.
We were talking about it with Jay Walker and Brad Topham down in Louisiana this past weekend. There seems to be a different confidence, a different swagger about this team this year than you've seen in the last couple of years for Texas State.
That's definitely true. And if you see the end of games, you see that confidence pouring out a little bit. I'm sure the Bobcats are getting a little bit of a reputation, with their colleagues, with the way they like to talk a little bit, but they're earning it right now. If you don't want them to talk, beat them. And you're right. They're not afraid of anybody. The confidence which they played with against Texas was remarkable. They didn't look up at Texas. They felt as if they were on the same level, for those two games. Arizona, 11th ranked team of the country at the time, dropped the opening game, brushed it off, came back and won the next two. A very business-like approach for this team, but they're having a lot of fun doing it as well. There's a lot of vets. The team lost a number of players from last year, a number of COVID seniors who elected to come back. And they left, but there were a number of guys that returned, namely Dalton Sheffield, who's a name a lot of Sunbelt fans know by now. Probably feels like he's been there for 8 years by this point. John Wuthridge is now healthy. He wasn't last year, missed 2 months with a broken hand, and when he did return, this wasn't himself. He's back to form and then some this season. So those are some of the positional players that bring a veteran-like presence to the team. And then the pitching staff has honestly been the biggest difference this year. There was a lot of concern because the rotation from last year was pretty much decimated. Namely, Zach Lee, the Friday night starter, got drafted, moved on, with his life. But Zeke Wood has stepped into the Friday role and has definitely looked the part. They brought in Levi Wells from Texas Tech, and he's pitching with a lot of confidence and arguably is the best starter in the rotation. And I mentioned Stivers, and you mentioned the swagger they play with. Probably nobody exemplifies that more than Stivers, who is probably the best reliever I've ever seen, with his program. Wow. And it's incredible. He will go out there, he'll pitch all 3 games of the series. He'll throw a 2-inning save on a Friday, come in to get the final 3 outs on Saturday, and pitch 3 innings of relief on Sunday to get the win. I've never seen a reliever just want the ball so much like Stivers and go out there and prove it too. So I think a lot of the confidence comes from players like him and some of the vets I mentioned.
And you talked about Stivers, but on that pitching staff, the front end for Texas State, Zeke Wood on Friday, the Friday night starter, Levi Wells on Saturday. What do those two really bring? You talked about with the rotation kind of being decimated from last year. You didn't know what you were getting. How big has it been to have those two step up?
Oh, it's been huge. Zeke Wood tends to set the table for the entire series. His strikeout numbers have been really impressive so far this year. Was Sunbelt Pitcher of the Week at one point earlier this season. He was kind of a spot starter a year ago and didn't seem to pitch with a lot of confidence, and got in great shape over the offseason, and confidence is not an issue with him right now. And Levi Wells was at a great program before, Texas Tech. Didn't get many opportunities, but if the Red Raider program is an eye for talent, which we know that they do because they've been a really good program the last 5 or 6 years, then you feel good about bringing a guy like that in, and so you get to the middle game of the series, and either you're trying to even things up or go up 2-0, and you feel really good about going with Levi Wells. Kind of the question mark for them, as good as the season has been, is starting pitching depth. That's probably a question mark for every team in the Sun Belt. But the Bobcats, even with the ranking, is no different. In fact, they made a change with their Sunday starter this past weekend at App State. Tony Roby had been the guy all year long. They decided to go with Cameron Bush this past Sunday against Appalachian State. The midweek game they have coming up Tuesday against Texas A&M. Don't know who's starting that game yet. Travis Sundgren has struggled his last 2 midweek starts. So the top two starters are great, but there certainly are question marks after that.
Flip it over to the offensive side. You mentioned Dalton Sheffield a little bit earlier. Somebody that's hitting almost 370 and this deep into the season. That's pretty fantastic. Somebody that's got to be in the discussion. Just 3 weeks into Sunbelt play, but got to be in discussion for Player of the Year candidate. Mm-hmm. What is it about his game that's kind of gone to the next level this year?
It was funny. You look at him and you wouldn't translate the numbers that you see. He's a 5-tool player, hits for average, hits for power, can run the bases, and defends extremely well. And also has really good baseball IQ. Baseball runs in the family. His dad was drafted in '85, actually ahead of Randy Johnson and Will Clark, by the way. Got drafted by the Royals, never made it to the big leagues, but, obviously a great baseball player in his own right. And Dalton Sheffield grew up around the game. You referenced Ty Harrington's name earlier. Of course, he's now my partner on the telecasts, and he's described him as a baseball rat. Just absolutely has a passion for the game, and it really shows in the field. The way he defends his position at shortstop, his approaches at the plate, doesn't give in on 2-strike counts, has a great approach there. You can stick him anywhere in the lineup, he's going to succeed. So there's just there's something very special about his year this year, and you probably saw it coming too when he was a freshman. I remember his freshman season, the Bobcats were struggling in a series in Atlanta and decided to, let's give the kid a chance, and goes up there and just smokes Georgia State's pitching. And he hasn't lost his job since then, really. There was a shortstop at the time who was a senior, Luke Shirley. They stuck Sheffield in the out and left. And his first midweek game was at Texas A&M, and he throws a runner out at home without hitting the relay man. And so, again, you really kind of saw this early on. And to now see him all these years later, it's really come together for him. And I'm with you. I feel like he definitely is in the conversation, if not the front runner for Player of the Year.
He's got a couple of pieces around him in that lineup, too. You look at a guy like Justin Thompson, a 330 average on the year. Got somebody with 7 home runs, and John Wuthridge that you talked about earlier, finally healthy for this Texas State Bobcats team. Mm-hmm. How big is it to have those guys around him in that lineup?
It means lineup protection. It means that every one of those guys are going to see pitches. Where if your lineup is centered around 1 or 2 guys, they may not be getting as many pitches to hit, but they are. And really there's not a ton of holes in the lineup right now, 1 through 9. Ben McClain has really come on strong recently, hit a couple of home runs in the Appalachian State Series, including an important 2-run homer in the opener on Friday, homered again Sunday. He's been coming through big. All these vets, and there's Dalen Pena, a true freshman from Corpus Christi, who has looked really good so far this season. Hit a grand slam against Texas in one of the 2 games against them. And so because there's not many holes in the lineup, against so many guys are seeing pitches to hit, which has been great so far this season. I think it's why some of the numbers are so high for players like Thompson and Wuthridge and Sheffield, because the guys behind them and in front of them are getting on base.
Seeing this team from afar, it seems like there is zero quit in this team. When we talk about it with Georgia Southern this year, find a way to win. But there's been a lot of times where Texas State has been down early in games, and we've talked about it with Arkansas State in that series, down in the first 2 games and had to come back to win the game. It seems like there's a no quit, never quit mentality with this team.
If I recall correctly, of their 23 wins now, I believe in 12 of them they've been behind at some point. And of their Sun Belt wins, I think all but 2 they trailed at some point. And those 2 came in the final 2 games of the App State series. So sometimes it's frustrating, to be honest with you, Colin, because they'll play poorly in the first few innings and they're down 5-1 or whatever the case may be. And as great as their bravado can be in coming from behind, you can only live like that for so long. But there is something to be said, yes, that this is truly a 27-out team. You got to get that 27 before you feel good about it, because they're so capable of coming back. Down 6-0 in the Sun Belt opener against Arkansas State, won that game. Down 8-1 in the finale against Coastal Carolina in the rubber match of the series, came back to win that game. Trailed early against Appalachian State Friday, came back to win that game. So this lineup can just wear you down. They can chase starters out early, get to a bullpen, and get them out too. And something that I've noticed as well, because of their ability to hit so well the second or third time through the order, get to that bullpen early in the series, it exhausts it by the time you get to Sunday. And so because of the way they have played Friday and Saturday, it sets up Sunday so well, they're seeing, the back end of the bullpen by Sunday and just hammering that pitching. And so you're right. Yeah, this team, anytime, if you were the opponent, you can't feel good about a lead no matter what inning you're in.
Something I want to touch on with you. You mentioned it earlier, but Ty Harrington, former head coach for the Texas State Bobcats, now joining you on the ESPN broadcast for Texas State. What has it been like to have him transition to the booth? And I know getting to hang out with you guys for a game in non-conference a couple of years ago, he's somebody that knows his baseball and loves what he's doing.
So he has taken this thing and running with it. Like, he loves it. I remember approaching him at a casual, like, football hype up event before a season opener, I think back in 2019. And I said, "Hey, Ty, we're going to start doing baseball this year. I know you just hung up the manager's or the head coach's clipboard. How do you feel about jumping on TV?" And nobody had ever asked him that before. Obviously, he was preoccupied with coaching, but he hadn't even thought about it before. And so he said, "Yeah, that sounds great." For him, initially, it was a way to stay connected to the game. That's still the case now. That's why he loves doing it. But he goes back and watches games. He watches other broadcasts. He's asking for feedback constantly. And he's trying to do more than what he's doing here with us. In fact, when the schedule allows for him, he's also jumping on with Texas and doing their radio broadcasts as an analyst. Now, Ty, of course, is a Texas alum, played baseball there, has many great connections with Texas. And I remember Craig Way, the radio voice of Longhorns, reached out to me and asked if that was okay. And I said, absolutely. Ty wants to expand his broadcast horizons. So, if that's what he wants to do and it gives him a chance to get more reps and get his name out there, then by all means, have him go do it for you. I mentioned that the Bobcats are playing at A&M Tuesday. Ty can't make it because he's working a Texas game in Austin on Tuesday. And so he's really embraced his broadcasting, and he's done so well with it too. A lot of times, I don't try to make analysts look foolish or anything like that, or throw things at them hoping that they'll mess up. But I will throw things at Ty because I know he can handle it. And so anything we bring up, if it's something about baseball, if it's about something random like Seinfeld, which I'll throw into the broadcast, he can take a part of that conversation. And, it went from a broadcaster-coach relationship for so many years with him to now just a pure friendship with him. And it's been great.
That's awesome. Remind Eagle Nation of what the atmosphere around Bobcat Ballpark is for a series. Georgia Southern and Texas State haven't seen each other since 2019 in a series. It's been since 2018 since Georgia Southern made the trip down to Bobcat Ballpark. Remind Eagle Nation what it's like for the atmosphere around there.
It's fun, as you know, Colin. The weather expected to be really nice. Not too hot. It's definitely not cold here this time of year either. So, it's a great atmosphere in that regard. The fans have been showing out a little bit more this year. The success has had a lot to do with that. They've added some different concession items over there now. They do. I don't know. I don't remember this is the case in 2018 or not, but they now sell alcohol, at the ballpark. They have, like I said, more concessions beyond the usual fare of hot dogs and popcorn. There's a barbecue vendor that's now on site there at the ballpark. Fans will tailgate outside the right field fence, ahead of time. I know there's been great tailgate environments out there as well. The ballpark seats about 2,500, and all the seating is shaded. There's an awning that sits over that as well. So you're not going to bake in the sun necessarily. And the fans are very engaged too. One of the neat features about the ballpark, not that Georgia Southern fans can just go over there, but up the first base line, there is a caboose. It's a converted train car that's now serving as a suite. And you'll see a lot of Texas State VIPs hanging out there, kicking back a few, having a good time. And it's positioned near the opponent dugout. And there's it's friendly banter. It's not a lot of trash talking, honestly, but it's friendly banter between the people, the caboose, and the visiting players. If there is any trash talking, it would come from our students. I remember for the Texas game, and I think it was the largest crowd we ever had when they came in March 8th, and they were giving it to the Longhorns, so much so that I'm sure you saw it on social media. When the game ended, Texas won the game, they were waving goodbye to all the fans, and Trey Faltini specifically, Texas's shortstop, was talking a lot of trash and autographed baseballs to give to the people who were talking trash to him. I don't know if there'll be an environment quite like that this weekend because there's an organic rivalry with Texas because of geography and, because of who Texas is. But from time to time, the trash talking will come from the stands, from the students here.
Looking forward to this weekend. It's going to be a really good series of baseball for Georgia Southern and Texas State. Appreciate you joining us.
Thank you, Colin. I can't wait for this weekend.